I'm going to show you now how to remove the motor from a washing machine. This is quite a simple job, and you'd need to do it if you needed to take your motor off to replace the brushes or something. But whenever you're working with appliances like this, it's always a good idea to make sure they're unplugged, and you've also got to make sure that nobody can plug them back in again. So once you've unplugged it, if you're in somebody's house and you're going out to the van, it's always a good idea to take the fuse out, and then if they accidentally do plug it back in, there's no danger of the machine being live. I've already disconnected the hot and cold water, and I've also taken out the 3 screws from the back there. So we know it's disconnected from the mains now, so it's perfectly safe. So we're just going to slide the back panel back, and that'll give us access to the motor now. You may have noticed as well that I am wearing cut resistant gloves, which is always a good idea when you're working on appliances like this, because they do have sharp edges. So before we start, I'll just point a few things out to you. That's the belt down there that transfers the power from the motor to the drum. These are the electrical connections at the back, and this is the tensioning bolt and the tensioning arm here, and that's used to move the motor back to put tension on the belt when it's fitted. So the first thing we need to do before we remove the motor is to take care of the electrical connections. So to remove the electrical connections, it's really easy. All you have to do is grab hold of the plug and unplug it, and that'll only go in one way around, so you can't get it in the wrong way when you're putting it back on. And then this is a spade connector for the earth, and on some motors it's not actually a spade connector, you actually remove a nut and bolt. So when you're removing these, it's important that you grab the actual spade itself and not the wire. So if you just grab the spade and then pull it off, and then that's the electrical connections taken care of. I'd like to point out as well that some motors are not always on the top of the machine. They can be underneath. So this is an easy one to get off. This is an hot point machine, by the way. So it's a lot easier removing the motor if you've got a ratchet. So we've got a small ratchet here, and it's a 13mm socket, and also got a 13mm ring spanner. So the first thing we need to do is loosen this bolt. Whenever you're working on an appliance like this, it's important to keep track of which nuts go where and which washers go where, because in a lot of washing machines you find spring washers like that, and a spring washer is designed so that when you tighten it up, it stops the nut from shaking loose with the vibration. And if you look at that nut, that's got a blue nylon ring in there. It's called a nylock, and that is a self-locking nut, so when you tighten that up it does lock, and it shouldn't come loose with any vibration. And then that's just a standard nut. So it's quite possible that you will come across locking nuts like that, and definitely spring washers, or you can even get anti-vibration washers as well, which have like little serrations in them. So it's important to remember where you're taking them off from. So we've removed that bolt now. So now we can push the motor towards the machine and unhook the belt. So now we've got the belt off. Now if you pull the motor back, you'll see how it's fixed to the machine. And on this particular one, it has a spigot at the back that just fits in an hole in the plastic, and at the front it's got a bolt with a nut on. So the next thing to do is to remove that nut and bolt. On some machines they have a nut and bolt there as well instead of the spigot, but this particular one, it just has one at the front. So I've got the nut and bolt from there now. So now I should just be able to pull the motor this way out of the spigot and it should come loose like that. So that's how to remove the motor from a washing machine.